we're back.
We're back again.
It's a new year. It's been a whole year since our last podcast. Truth be told, it's been 2 minutes. I've not moved. Just this is my message to DJ. I don't know if he's going to post this part of the podcast, but rather than doing episodes, we need to start naming what the podcasts are about. On YouTube and stuff. Just put episodes. Yeah. It's just like nothing. It's like what's this one about? So actually going into a bit of detail on what they're about, and plus it will gain more traction. So I think we need to just need to start naming them on thing rather than doing episode numbers. You can do the episode numbers as well as the names, though, I guess.
Yeah, well, what did you name them then? What did you name that last episode?
The last episode is just a Premier League run through, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, Premier League run through. No, end of season run through.
Yeah, no, because it was just Premier League, so...
No, it weren't. Because they did the Europa League and...
It was only a little bit. We didn't go much into them, did we?
Really?
Okay. The Champions League, come on. I just basically said Liverpool got shat on that quadruple. There was no... there was literally...
Yeah, we'll call it that then. we'll call it Liverpool got shat on. I was going to call it Jones's Jubilee.
This one, so basically Jones's Jubilee, I love that. No, it has to be relevant to what we talked about. That's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. No, this one, so this podcast, basically, my idea was to kind of like pick a player in the Football League that you feel has either gone under the radar, has performed really well, or performed terribly. Or just somebody that you feel hasn't got the attention they deserve for all the right or wrong reasons.
I remember.
And so that's the idea with this podcast for me. Do you want me to go first? Because I'm very happy with my choice. I've got to be honest.
Yeah. No, you go first. Yeah. What are you doing? One bad then? Do you want to do that?
No. The idea is we've already picked out, because you told me you played the other day, so I was just going to stick with that one player and just discuss the season they've had, their attributes in terms of what they're good at, or maybe what they're bad at. To be honest, I didn't really find many for what this player's bad at. I just thought it was excellent this season, just discussing that and so I'll start then. So the player I've chosen as my player to talk about in this episode is Joel Pyro. Or Perot, I think he's known as. Well, Swansea certainly, but Swansea. I think.
Did you hear that?
Perot. Yeah, did you?
Ice cream van outside. Very distracting ice cream van outside.
Trying to do a podcast here, you prick. Piss off.
I so wish we had a studio with like sound emitting things, but no, we've just got fucking ice cream vans in the background.
Go and order a 99 flake and tell me to piss off. Fucking hell.
6:30 at night, and it's gloomy as shit outside.
So, yeah, great Manchester weather right now, overcast. But I tell you what, I've seen ice cream vans knock about when it's been snowing, to be honest. So that makes no difference to him. Ice cream men round here, they're not arsed, are they? Like, they just don't care.
No.
So, anyway, enough about them, dickheads.
Joel Pyro.
Yeah, Joel Perot, mate, absolute player. This guy, right, the reason I picked him is because up until the latter stage of the season, I've not heard anything about him, and I just feel like he deserves a lot more credit than that. Like, literally, the guy scored 22 goals last season for Swansea.
Wow.
That's really. I mean, how can that just go under the radar? They signed him for just over $1 million. So in terms of investment, it was an amazing signing. 22 goals for £1 million in the Championship is incredible. So I thought, right, I want to have a look at this guy. I want to see, what he does well. And honestly, so the first thing for me that struck me is his positioning. His spatial awareness is just unbelievable. Like, he literally, he's got one thing I've noticed about what he does is he's either in the right spot. He's always central, so he never gets brought out wide. He never, he's never drawn into something. He's always central. But one of the things he did really well was, if he knew the opportunity wasn't going to come from the header, he'd kind of push back to the edge of the box.
Yeah.
And take the effort. And quite a lot of his goals this season, just from sheer composure, are just like placed finishes. He scored a few headers, and that's why I think he's got a bit of both about him. He's got his central movement. He can get him behind the line. He's good on. He's good. His composure is incredible. Like, he's so.
which is impressive considering he's quite young as well, isn't he? He's only 22?
I think he's 22. Yeah, I think he's 22.
Yeah.
But it's like just
well, give us a bit of a back. Give us a bit of a history about him before you tell us how great he is.
Oh, see, now you put the pressure on because I don't have a clue. I've not even done that. I've just gone with. But I know we signed for Eindhoven for I think it was 1.2 million. But yeah, granted his history for them, I don't think there is much to be told. To be honest, I think he's just kind of come out of the fold.
Yeah.
I think obviously fair play to Swansea scouts because. Going for a play like this that you've not really, I don't know how to say it, but going for a play like that's not really.
Oh yeah, it's not known of. It's not really known of. I've never really heard of him until literally until you mentioned him the other day. I'd not really. If you said to me who was one of the top scorers in the Championship last season, I would have not said Joel Pyro. And I never really said that. I think Mitrovic kind of got in the way a lot, because everyone just looked at his goal scoring and Solanke and a few other names that people had heard of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it probably covered him a bit. But yeah, go on.
But yeah, but that's what it is. I don't think it should have gone under the radar personally. I think it should have been talked about, a lot more. But yeah, no, I did definitely the one for me. It was incredible. That's last season.
22 goals for Swansea. We struggled last season as well, which is even more impressive.
That's what I don't understand. They must have had issues at the back or something. But...
Yeah, because they have MK Don's old manager, I think, there, don't they? And he passing football very over the top possession based. So I think they always need a good striker because they won't get that many chances. Because when they get chances, they'll want them scoring because they don't. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say they create that many. They just slow build up, and when they get a chance, they normally take it, which you normally need a good striker with.
I'll tell you what is interesting. Do you know what? I don't know why. I've just seen that Joel Pyro is not interested in contract renewal talks with Swansea.
Oh dear, Swansea. Oh dear, Swansea. There we go then. Let's end this podcast here then. The Swansea fans are going to be interested now, aren't they?
It's already started.
Are we going to do a little hashtag and try and get some Swansea fans interested? Oh yeah, look at how good our player is here. And then no, he's not interested in staying with you. Yeah. Never mind.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, he's saying he's not interested in doing it. Granted, though, it depends on how many years they've signed his contract for.
Is he has he been there for a while? I have heard of his name, but only from FM.
Honestly, this season, that was it. He went on loan to Sparta Rotterdam from PSV last season because he did play a couple of games. He did play a couple of games. Sorry, is it the season before? Last season or the season before? He played 11 games for PSV, but he only scored one goal. But in the because in Netherlands they have that Jong, where the team. So it was Jong PSV, and he scored 16 goals in that setup. Granted, he played a lot more games. He played 57 games, but he's it's take a bit of time. But God, what it's considering he's moved away from home and then just gone to Swansea. I'm just going to swap it now, and that's an impact season and a half. But the main talking points for me, I think the main thing I would have said is his composure for someone of that age is incredible. His finishing is absolutely pinpoint. Again, it's the way his movement, again, going back to it, because he's in the right place for the header or he's in the right place at the edge of the box to take the shot. So it's really good. I think the main one from Swansea, if you did want to include the fans, is that he scored against Cardiff this season. Yeah, he scored against Cardiff.
I wanted to, but then you told me he don't want to stay. Is his contract expiring or is he just he's done me on a bit?
I can't imagine he's spot. You can't just go for one season and think, fuck that, I'm not asked anymore.
Well, that's the thing though, but you've got to imagine, we'll be into him, someone like Brentford, they'd be all over that kind of player.
It is the interesting one. It was Leicester that have caused this, apparently.
Right, yeah. Because obviously, if you get a player like that and he does bang 22, gone under the radar, and that says to me a mid-table Premier League club will come sniffing eventually. Once they like get a wind of it, then I can definitely imagine that. Like I said, I never really. I feel like I've heard of his name before, but that probably is FM. But I mean, that is some great scout work by the scouts at Swansea. Because if he's just dwindling about in PSV's reserves or the second division in Holland, and then he's come over here and smashed it in the Championship in England, like that's some go in that. You don't hear that often.
Yeah, the thing is, I've just spotted this. He signed a 3-year deal.
Right, so they've got no reason to sell.
No, well, the thing is like if he's got a 3-year deal, no wonder he's not interested in talking about renewal talks because he's still got another 2 years on his contract.
He's still young, he's 22.
Yeah, he might have renew at a later date, but just I think the fact that he's got 2 more years, I think teams are just dead quick to kind of get contract talks going all the time, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right. He's had, he's young and he's had a great season, but imagine if he flops it next season, like just absolutely falls apart. Like, it just seemed really odd. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. But that's my player. That's the one I've chosen. I just think for somebody that I've not heard much of to have a season like that, and I'd like to think I'm well versed in football as well. Is just I think it definitely deserves the recognition that he deserves.
Yeah. We'll give him the recognition. So well done to Joel Piero. Excellent season with Swansea. Even though Swansea didn't do that well, so I can kind of get why you'd want to move if you're at a club who've not done that well and you're fucking smashing it.
Yeah,
I'll tell you right now though. The player I've gone for is very similar. Again, Championship. But I've gone for Coventry player, Victor.
Is it Yorick?
Honestly, similar to Pyro, hard name to say, but very similar player, big lad, 6'2", and just again, not had an unbelievable season. I mean, like previous season, on loan at Swansea, didn't score 1 goal for them. On loan at Coventry, scored 3 goals last season. Then this season, 17 goals and 5 assists. Like, it's strange to see that kind of breakout season where someone just goes from dwindling about, looking like they're going nowhere, to just fucking smashing it. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, Premier League clubs are after him now. And
he's quite young, isn't he?
Yeah, 23. So that's what I mean. Similar, very similar to Pyro. Like, similar height, similar age, and again, I'd say similar to you as well. A very much a poacher. Good movement as well. Like, he looks like a pretty complete player because he's good height. He's finishing decent, and I'd say he's a very much a poacher as well. Seems to be in the right place at the right time, but can run with the ball as well. You know what I mean? He's like very much a all-round good striker. It seems strange to me that he can go the last few seasons doing nothing. Like literally barely any goals, hardly any assists, doing 0. And then this season, just going on to be one of the best players in the league. Under the radar, though.
I'll tell you what's interesting about this. Do you know what's funny about this? Obviously, because Perot's had a really good breakout season at Swansea this season. Guess who was on loan at Swansea last season?
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I said this. I said a second ago.
Oh, sorry.
Look, goals out. Yeah, he didn't score for him, though. He didn't do anything for Swansea when he was on loan there. So it's so strange to see that he... And then what Coventry must have done, though, they must have seen the potential because he had him on loan and he only scored 3 in something like 19 games. I can't remember, but something like 19 games. And then he's come this season where everything's just clicked for him and he's smashed it now. And it's probably one of the main reasons that Coventry had a good seat. I think mid-table, weren't they, Coventry? So I think they've had a pretty decent season because these kind of clubs, and Wigan will probably see it next season, you need to break that barrier in the Championship because it always seems to be there's like a bottom 6 clubs every season who are the same, and they're always the ones who've just come up from League One. Bridging that gap is such a tough thing.
I don't think people understand it's like when people... I'm being a bit biased by it, right? So hear me out when I say this. I don't know if I'm being biased by saying this, but do you know when a team gets promoted from the league, why do they then expect to do really well in the league above?
Oh, I don't know.
Fans? Just because the gaps between each league. I mean, League 2 and League 1, I can kind of see why, but not like League 1 to Championship to Premier League.
Yeah, I have to. I'll be shooting down some Wigan fans here, but I've seen shouts from Wigan fans saying we might get playoffs next season. Like,
oh God, David,
I don't get where. Honestly, I'm a bit pessimistic.
If it happens, fair play, and that is an incredible season. But you know, them kind of people are expecting that, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they expect.
Well, before administration, I never really interacted with the Wigan fan base on Twitter because some of the times it was so toxic. Like, why are we not winning these games? It's like away at like Fulham or away at West Brom. It's like, well, they're a very good side. That's why. That's why we're not beating them. But I think it's so strange because I don't get that. I'm pessimistic at times, but some of our fans are so optimistic. Like, oh, Will Keane is going to score 15 next season. It's like, no, he'll probably score about 5. Like, he's a good footballer. He's been great for us, but that step up, Will Grigg scored like 25 in League One. Then next season he scored 5 in the Championship. Like, it's such a tough step. Like, and a lot of our fans seem like nailed on. Like, yeah, we'll be fine. I'm like, the 95% of them are very convinced. Like, staying up will be a doddle. Like, it's nothing. It's like,
no.
I wish I had that confidence. Like, it'll be a tough grind to stay up. No, I don't get how many of them get that, but
yeah,
it'll be a tough grind.
You look at what happened this season in Championship with the financial problems, and could that happen again to another club in the Championship?
Joking, of course, but it seems like honestly, because it happened to us, I'm just like, can we just benefit from somebody else? Like, if we're struggling down there, can someone else go through a point deduction so we can stay up? Because like I know Barnsley benefited like 3 seasons in the row thanks to administration. I think they benefited from like Bolton, then they benefited from us, then they benefited from Derby last season. Like Barnsley, like, well, they nearly did. They still ended up bottom but they just clinging on for ages because the team's going through financial fair play. And like, I wouldn't mind a little bit of that look, but at the same time, I really don't want any club to go through admin because it's fucking terrible. Which is good news. Derby apparently is getting finalised very soon. Okay. I've heard Chris Kircher, I think, is finalising the deal to buy Derby. I've heard that's going through the next couple of days, which will be good. And Derby, I think, are 9-1 to go up next season, which I would definitely take because they'll get such a good squad. Like, they'll get an unbelievable squad for League One, like, because they're such a big club. And probably
lose Tom Warrens, but yeah.
Well, they're keeping Nathan Byrne, which is a surprise because he was their player of the season last season. He was literally like they got him from us when we went through admin, and he was our player of the season like 2 years in a row. Brilliant right back. Then we thought maybe we'd get him back because obviously Derby had been struggling, but apparently signing a new contract with Derby. But because they're a massive club, and when you come through admin, you're debt free. Honestly, watch their summer now. If they get a takeover, they'll just get these mad players in like. But on this subject, I don't know if you want to do an under the radar who's had a terrible season. And I'm not sure if you wanted to do this, but you could think of one whilst I say mine. But I cannot believe how poor Scott Fraser's had. I don't know if you're aware of Scott Fraser, but Scottish footballer. He did brilliant at Burton, and then he did unbelievable for a season at MK Dons. I think he had over like 20 goal involvements, 14 goals, something like 6 assists or something daft, or probably more than that. We were linked with him, and I remember thinking like, oh yeah, we were linked for him for the summer, and I remember thinking like, oh Scott, what a signing that would be, like that. He should be going to the Championship, blah blah blah. Goes to Ipswich, and then he doesn't do any. He scores 1 penalty. I think he scored 1 penalty. Then they sold him to Charlton. I can't believe he's gone from being this next big thing. He's going to go straight into the Championship, no bother. Ipswich buzzing, like really buzzing when they signed him. Really good passing midfield, looks the part, really good midfielder. Then he just gets flogged to Charlton, and it's so weird because Charlton was struggling when they signed him as well. He didn't do anything for Charlton. He's played 9 games for Charlton, done nothing, no assists, no goals, and I think. For me, Ipswich in total, like I've said it already, this like start of this season. If Ipswich don't go up next season, it's the most pathetic attempt I've ever seen, because their squad is near enough a championship squad, and they did terrible last season. They came like mid-table, and it's like embarrassing. But with what do you call it? The Kieran McKenna, young manager, obviously from United, they should do all right next season. But I couldn't believe how bad Scott Fraser was. Like, I was gutted when he went to Ipswich, but we seem to dodge a bullet big time with that one.
Yeah. Well, I've got two.
Go on.
Yeah, the obvious. So I'm going to do the obvious one first, and follow with the one that might not be specified. So the obvious one for me is Harry Maguire, personally. Yeah, absolutely obvious. And I think anybody that listens to this will just be like, yeah, you just stated the obvious, mate. He's been awful all season. So yeah, no, that's the obvious one. I don't need to go into detail. Everybody's seen how bad he's been this season, so I don't need to go into detail. The one I am going to pick up on though, which I think is just for his level and where he's been at to what's happened last season, is Jake Livermore at West Brom.
Right, yeah.
Like just he played the majority of all the games last season. His contributions, to the team is just poor. Like, just really poor. I can't really go into too much detail with it because, I'm not, I've kind of been just put on the spot and just jumped in, but he didn't score. He got 2 assists.
Yeah.
He played 38 games last season.
No, that's poor. They bought him for 10 million, remember, as well. I remember that. I remember thinking at the time, like, 10 million for Jake Livermore. That's pretty outrageous. A few years ago, though. He's been at West Brom for years now, hasn't he? But
now, people probably say, like, well, he's an older player. He's 32. I don't consider that very old now in terms of football terms. So that, this is an ex-England international.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
In the second level of English football, granted that is still a very high and demanding level of English football, but just, I think if you're a player of that level and that expertise, and you've had a desire to win in the past, and you've finished mid-table in a team that should really have been in the playoffs, really have been in the playoffs, that's poor. Now, yeah, there's other factors, poor management, poor tactics. Yep, you can take all them into account. Completely agree. But that just stands out to me. I think no contributions as much as is baffling. It's pretty baffling. So, yeah, I'd have to go with Jake Livermore for that. I can't imagine West Brom fans would have been very happy with his contributions.
No.
But then
he could be doing. Like you said, I did put you on the spot. He could be doing something in midfield that, like, ball winning more and stuff like that. They might think he's like a club legend, blah blah blah. But you are right. You'd expect someone of that level to be doing a bit more.
You got to remember, like, they've been down there more than one season.
Yeah, West Brom in the whole, yeah.
But their team is, like you were saying, with regards to Ipswich, they've got a championship level team. In my opinion, that West Brom team is not far off the Premier League if it is Premier League. I look at the likes of Watford, Norwich, potentially Brentford, if you're being extremely critical. I think they've got a better team than them.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, another one who sticks out in my mind for them, and who's been a flop for the last few seasons. I remember them. Do you remember the big debacle about Grady Diangana from West Ham going to West Brom? And there was a massive thing about it, and he's been terrible since he went there full time. He was on loan and did brilliant on loan with West Brom. Then he went full time. He scored 3 goals in 61 games. What the fuck has happened there?
I mean, with Diangana, he's very much a box-to-box midfielder, isn't he? So I know he's not the pinnacle point of attack, but I remember. I think most people remember that breakout season because the media were talking about how good he was, and then since they've just heard nothing since.
Yeah, no,
it's like he's been a spectator or something.
Yeah, there's a good few of them though. I think you're not wrong though. I think if you look through West Brom's team, they've got a lot of players who are definitely Premier League standard. Robinson, Matt Phillips, who's played a lot of games in the Premier League. They have just signed John Swift though. I'm very if I was a West Brom fan, I'd be very happy with that signing. Like, John Swift had an outrageous season last season. Like, He scored something. What has he scored? Like 15, got 15 assists or something just mental in the Championship from midfield, like deep midfield, like not super deep, but deeper midfield, like proper centre midfielder for Reading. I think he was going to be my other one. I remember saying to you before we did this, saying like John Swift would be mine if he didn't join West Brom, because it's hard to say he's gone under the radar if he's just signed for West Brom, because obviously someone's picked up on how great. And I think most people realise how much of a good season he had last season, but him going to West Brom, if West Brom don't go up next season, that'll be pretty pathetic as well. They'll be on my list with Ipswich.
Yeah, I think they need playoffs minimum. I think you can understand playoffs given the level of how good the Championship is, but they weren't even quite. That's what's I think that's what baffles me for the squad that they've got, given how how far away they were. They weren't just they were a good they were a good 8 points away from the from the points. So it's not like they were just out by a point or two, which would have been a bit more understandable. And you look at the likes of like Luton got into the playoffs, which is incredible, as far as they're concerned. But you look at some of the teams that have missed out there. Stoke. Oh my God.
Well, the Championship don't look that great next season, though, for me. Like, there is some big teams, and West Brom should be definitely up there. But there's a lot. Like for Wigan, I know playoffs is still ridiculous in my eyes, but I look at a lot of the teams now, especially Blackpool losing Critchley, which I talked about in the last episode. A lot of the teams around there, Preston going through a bit of turmoil, Reading only just stayed up, and there's a lot of teams around there where I think I can definitely see Wigan getting a lot of points, especially coming up with Rotherham. I think Sunderland are going. It's probably such an unpopular opinion, but now they've come up, I can imagine Sunderland being a really tough team like next season, because I can't help but think they're getting a new takeover, which will be heavy investment. And because they're such a big club, now they finally got over that hurdle after all these pathetic years in League One. I think I was going to say, if Wickham had come up instead of Sunderland, it would have been easier to stay up in the Championship than to get promoted from League One next season. Like, League One would have been daft if Sunderland, Derby, Sheffield Wednesday, like Charlton, Ipswich, all these teams were in League One. It would have looked mental for the third tier of English football to have clubs that size, and it would have looked genuinely insane. But now, because Sunderland came up, it took the sparkle off that a little bit. But I think having them team, I hate saying it, but I really think Sunderland will be a dark horse next season. Because
I can see where
it's such a big club. They are a massive club. Wigan fans always have this we always seem to fall out with Sunderland when we're in League One, because Sunderland I'll keep going on about being a big club, but once they get in the Championship, they have other clubs to fight with. But when we're in League One, it's like, oh, we're a bigger club than you. It's like, Wigan have never said we're a big club. We just happen to be very good at getting promoted from League One. And Sunderland were terrible at getting promoted from League One.
Yeah, don't need any proof for
that. They nailed it with Patrick Roberts. What a steal he was. Like, one of them where he's struggling, couldn't really find a club. Gone to Sunderland, and he looked a serious player in them playoff games. He was unbelievable in, I think, the first leg against Wickham. And then in the final as well, he played pretty well. The other winger as well, I think is either one, might be on loan from Tottenham. Can't remember his name. But yeah, I fancy them next season, annoyingly. But I can't. They're getting a new takeover. I think Sunderland will be really dark horses, which is annoying.
We've gone off on a tangent again.
I can't remember. Someone triggered me to start talking about things, and I can't remember what it was.
It's all right. You can be forgiven. So the next part of this podcast was to pick a player that you would like to see your club sign that is relatively realistic for your club. So I'll let you go first. This one, come on, first and the last one.
Right, this one, and it's such a easy one. And a Wigan fan, I can't remember his name, but he even posted. He was doing a really good. I'm not sure if you'd listen to this, but he did a really good over the summer. He's done really good articles about like signings that he won. This was one that I said before he'd even done the article, so I thought it was kind of coming because I'd even like hinted towards it before that. I think he's called Dan, but I can't remember his second name. He did really good articles about summer transfers, and one of these was and it makes sense. All of it makes sense. He's Naby Sarr. Just played in the playoff final. Wigan playing a back five now with Jason Kerr and Watmo, who for me are championship standard. Then we just need a left-footed centre half. We've got Curtis Tilt, who'll be a brilliant backup, but we need a starter left-footed centre half. Naby Sarr fits that bill so well. He's been playing last season in the north. He used to play for Charlton down south, but playing for Huddersfield, obviously he's back up here. Playoff final, and he started a lot of the games because of an injury, but he's just been released as well. Like now, finally, fully severed ties. He'll be the one where if he goes to another club, I'll be gutted that we've not gone for him. He's big, 6 foot, think 6, massive lad, quite good on the ball as well. I've watched him, and
I tell you what I think. I'm not saying it's impossible, but because he played the best part of 21 games for Huddersfield last season. Is that realistic for Wigan to go? Yeah, is it? Or do you think?
I think so. I do think so, but I'll tell you why. When we got took over last season, I remember thinking, this is no disrespect to the players, but I remember saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, I think we should take on Dan Gardner back and have a look at like Scott Wooten as backup." Like I was talking about the players we just had and taking them on, thinking we'd be trying to just stay up last season. I really didn't think we'd do anything. Then Jack Watmo signed, and I was like, "What the fuck, Jack Watmo? How have we signed him?" So I think we could definitely. For me, wages won't be an issue. I don't think Huddersfield would have been punching above their weight last season. I don't think they would have been giving him massive wages. I think he was a backup player, but then I think their main centre-back got injured. So I do think that he is quite realistic in the sense that I could imagine us signing him. The only issue is there'll be a lot of clubs looking at him because he's got to be one of the best free agents out there for that level now. Like, for clubs around the middle to bottom half of the Championship, there'll be a lot looking at him. I'm not even wouldn't even surprised if I go on Twitter tonight and see that someone's already signed him before we've even had a chance, because he's fully severed ties with Huddersfield now. Like, it's done. He has been released. Yeah. But yeah, like I was saying, good on the ball. He's not great on the ball, but he's good enough on the ball. Really strong, good in the air. Obviously, 6'6". Similar to Dan Burn for me. Looks similar. He has similar. This was the case with Dan Burn when we had him. He has got a mistake in him. I feel like that comes with, if you're 6'6", you will make a mistake. Your legs are too gangly. Oh, God, yeah. You shouldn't be playing football. You are going to make mistakes. You're just too tall. You shouldn't be playing football. But yeah, I think for me, just everything about that player just seems like you'd fit in. He just would. If I looked at our back three and we had Watmo, Kerr, and Sarr, I'd be very happy and I'd be very content in the idea that we would stay up. So he was definitely one for me. Played, like you said, 20-odd games for Huddersfield. Just looks like a very solid centre-half. I think he played for Charlton before that, and he was good at Charlton as well. And that's how he got his move to Huddersfield. Another point on Huddersfield, their goalkeeper of the season, Championship team of the season, Lee Nichols, ex-Wigan graduate, which is so weird. A very strange one. It was just one of them things where I just felt like, when we released him, I thought, like, in the Conference North, or like off your pop, like, I never thought we'd see him again, and he just came back with a vengeance, playing for Huddersfield in playoff final, which was so strange. But yeah, that was mine anyway. Naby Sarr, I thought he'd be a great signing for us.
Fair enough. Yeah, sounds good. Right, so mine for United was for Kyle Tomori.
Yeah.
I've just gone straight. Just United's defensive problems this season, as you know, conceding over 50 goals this season is tragic. Tomori, to be fair, there was a lot of like question marks about Milan when they signed him for like 25 million, I think, from Chelsea. A lot of people wondering, why they're spending so much on someone that's not proven, because he'd only played at Derby, really.
Yeah.
So they were questioning that. But oh my God, what a season! What a season he's actually had. He's just to put it into perspective. Milan last season conceded 41 goals in the season. This season they conceded 31 goals in the season. And a 10-goal swing. It's just much better, unbelievable.
So no assume replacing Maguire with him then.
Because I always give a player a season. Varane's not been great this season, but I think, if you imagine Varane and Tomori at centre back, oh my God, I mean, that'd just be insane. obviously, stating the obvious, his speed, his strength is impeccable. I like his mentality as well because he's learned Italian. He can speak Italian, so it means he wants to learn. He wants to, he wants to develop. He wants to improve. So that just says it all for me. So that's another thing. And I think he's been integral since because Milan lost Simon Kier earlier on in the season. So he was a massive loss when he got injured. So the likes of Tomori and Kalulu, they had to really step up and, to win the title. After that, it's just to lose one of your key centre backs and then win the title is just incredible. I think it goes under the radar. So, yeah, definitely a massive scalp, and the fact that he's English as well. So obviously it wouldn't take him too long, I think, to adapt to United.
Do you think it's realistic? Well, it's a weird one for Wigan. We don't have an unlimited amount of cash, so our realistic signings are a bit different with you. I'm not sure if Tomori would look at United and think like United's such a massive club though, so I feel like every player in the world would look at United and think, yeah, we could play for him.
Do you know what I think from a budget perspective, in terms of how much the transfer fee would be realistic, I think actually happening, no, it's just not realistic. Because I think theoretically United won't look at him because they're too naive, they're too stupid yet. In terms of recruitment, they're not clever enough. But I also think Tomori, for his loyalty to Milan, I don't think I personally don't think he'll leave Milan. I think there'll be something in it where Chelsea have a buyback clause where they can stand him back and he might go back to Chelsea.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Bought out, but would he sign for United? No, I really don't think he would. I think he'd either just play in Milan. Or he'd sign for Chelsea, effectively, unfortunately. Yeah. But just from a gut feel, I know I mentioned how much I want United to sign Bellingham. And again, I was kind of torn between Bellingham and Tomori, but I just went with Tomori just to be a bit different. But yeah, on the flip side, I mean, if United sign Bellingham, I can't even tell you how much I'd love that. That would just be, that's unrealistic. So I'd turn into a United Twitter account. I'd turn into one bot account. Proper Nancy fanboy account.
It's weird. You would think United would be like, with someone like that kind of proper unreal talent. Like, there's only a few of that age group who have that kind of Camavinga, Bellingham, and you'd say like someone like Foden, Haaland, them kind of players.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting that City are going to have two of them next season, but they're the ones where like you open the checkbook and you go write a number down. Like, they're the players. Yeah. It's strange that United haven't done that. They haven't gone for that young, unbelievable like talent and gone like they did a bit with Sancho, but I always thought it was a bit of a risk with Sancho.
I think again, you've got to remember Sancho's only had one season at United and he was injured and he couldn't get the game time because just the transition in managers. He did
seem to start looking good towards the end, I thought. Yeah. I think he might be a bit of a dark horse next season. I think he'll surprise the team next season, Sancho.
I honestly think he's a great player. You speak to what United fans now, they'd say they just want to get rid of all the players. And probably the first two names they'd probably say that, first three names they'd probably say that they won't get rid of would be Sancho, Ronaldo, and probably De Gea. Although
you'd be in a relegation battle without De Gea last season. I swear to God, he kept you in so many games. He was a joke last season.
I agree, but plot twist, I wouldn't be adamant to keep him at United. If he kind of said I want to go, then I wouldn't be adamant to keep him.
Oh yeah, if you could get a good fee for it.
Yeah, I'd be quite happy to let him go, personally. But Ronaldo and Sancho, I'd be gutted if they left. Like, I'd actually be genuinely gutted. Because Sancho, you can see the glimpses. He's the only player in the team that can actually run at a player and take him on at the moment. Because I would say that about Rashford, but this season, he's had an awful season this season.
So heads elsewhere.
Yeah, so
I think Pogba seems to have, like, he just changed the dressing room. I think getting rid of him might be the best thing you've done.
United's
so far.
Transfer business so far, in my opinion, and I know I've not signed one player yet, but it's been the best transfer window already we've had in years. That's the magnitude of how bad contract renewals, transfer policy. I mean, For me, Paul Pogba never should have come to United. But you have to give him a chance because, the managers are, Mourinho, it was Mourinho's signing, so Mourinho's not an idiot. So,
Yeah, true.
you have to give him a benefit. If you don't appreciate the sign, you have to, well, do you know what? I can't judge him yet. He's not played for the club. But it's without a doubt probably one of the worst transfers in football history. If you think about the fee and, how bad he's been, I mean, Harry Maguire, to be fair, has not been at United as long as Pogba. So, but even then, he's pushing it now. Maguire and Pogba have been awful signings for United. So it's a matter of time. Does Maguire improve next season under Ten Hag? It's a matter of time. But if he doesn't, for me, yeah, he's definitely up there, if not the worst. So yeah, it's interesting from that standpoint. But yeah, getting rid of Pogba, Lingard, Matic, Cavani, Grant, the other potentials. So they're the ones that are confirmed. But other potentials, Phil Jones, Eric Bailly. There's even talk about Alex Telles going as well, and Diogo Dalot. But I think Dalot's actually been reassured that he's staying at the club. So that'd be. I do. So he's not had a good season. It goes without saying he has not had a good season. I think a lot of United fans would want to get rid of him, but I sympathise because he's still really young. So I still think because he's really young, there's still a lot of time for him to learn and adapt. So I do sympathise because if a great manager comes in and changes the mindset of a young player, it can last for a while. So that's why I think I don't mind the critique on the older players, but certainly the younger ones, I do sympathise with them a bit more because it wasn't Diogo Dalot's fault we had a terrible season. There's leaders in that dressing room. Harry Maguire's the captain. Paul Pogba's been there long enough. There's players there that should know better. Them two especially. And, that wasn't good enough from their part. So... Yeah, for me, it wasn't for him to blame. Cavani spent half his time on the injury list, so yeah, good. Get rid of him. Appreciate what he did in terms of goals, but yeah, good time to go. And then the other ones, yeah, I mean, Mata, yeah, it's just not worked out for Mata at United, but he did definitely not for the one for trying.
I saw something interesting about Mata, actually. He said he joined when he was 25. I was like, no way. I don't believe it for a second.
I know. It's good. You think he was like 30 when he signed for United. Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? But
it's a shame that as well. Like his best years at United seemingly doing nothing as well, which seems so strange.
He'll forever be remembered as that bicycle kick at Anfield. Honestly, it was just incredible. Di Maria played the assist for that as well. I'm always quick to forget Di Maria played for United. Yeah, but yeah, no, he's there's a lot going on with United. I already just from releasing those players, I think it's United's best transfer window by a country mile. Just because you can. I think there'll be more dependence on the youth players, and I've been screaming for that for a while, because I just think some of them do deserve the opportunity. I mean, Garnacho, oh my God, he's unbelievable, from youth level. Granted, can he bring it forward to the adult football? I don't know, but
yeah, I just think that some of your best youth players, even if you played a good few, they'd be better than what do you call it? They'd be better than 6, wouldn't they? If you played your star players with a handful of if you played your star players with a handful of your youth players, they must do better than 6 next season because some of them are unreal talents, really.
You see, this is it. I think it depends on other clubs. Because you expect the step up from Tottenham next season. Chelsea only got 70 points this season. I'm staggered at that. Absolutely staggered at that. So again, I do expect better performances from the top 6, but again, they all play each other, so it's it's natural for them to not finish on 80 plus points a season. United, God, I don't even know. I can't even remember. I think if United, what did we finish on? Did we finish on 58 points? I think it was 58 points. When you look at City and Liverpool, 93, 92. United have got to be targeting next season 75 points.
Oh, yeah.
They've got to be targeting 75 points. And I think most of all as well, they've got to be, they won 16 out of 36. They won next to, pretty much just nearly half of their games. because he got 10 draws and 12 losses. 12 losses, so United really need to be aiming to minimise the losses. I don't think they'll achieve this, but they really need to be trying to get, within 5 losses in that season.
Yeah.
Because the season where we finished second, we had loads of draws as well. We had 10 draws this season. They're just not clinical enough. And I felt there was quite a few games, given the right mentality and the step up, they could have gone forward. I think there were certain games where they were well beaten. That one at Brighton at the end of the season, God, they just fell apart. They could not be asked.
When Brighton are on it, though, when Brighton are on it, Brighton is some team when they're on it. When the way they play so good, I love watching Brighton. But they seem to it's weird. They're a strange team, Brighton. They play such nice football, then all of a sudden they just collapse for about 5 games. It's like, why? What if they just kept that momentum up? They'd be such a good side. Yeah, but they just never can. They can never seem to keep that momentum. Surprised Potter's not had any interest from bigger clubs. Because he seems like a really good manager, and it's just weird to see that he's not linked with a bigger club.
Arsenal were the original ones, weren't they? They were looking into him originally.
It would have been interesting to see that, though, to be fair. But I think they're going to be set with Arteta now, and we do one of them where it's like we don't care where we finish as long as we're using this philosophy and see where we can get, kind of thing.
Yeah, but to be honest, sometimes it's not a bad thing that I do sympathise because at the end of the day, so they've had. It's like United. Say United, it's not worked out in terms of having Van Gaal or Mourinho, and then they had to try new methods, and they went to Solskjaer, and granted, Solskjaer finished higher than the others did. Mourinho had a great first season. He dipped. Second season worst, third season worst. But yeah, it's interesting. You have to try different things, don't you? But you can change it too much, and I think United have fallen short because of that. I think Arsenal was a similar principle. They tried. Look at Unai Emery. You just took bleeding Villarreal to a Champions League semi-final last season.
Yeah, certain managers seem to suit certain clubs, and then just.
I think the difference was obviously with Villarreal because it's such a small town that their fans are great because they don't expect much at all.
Who might go through it next. But I think, to your delight, the next club I expect to go through this fall from grace will be Liverpool, even though they've only just started coming back into it. Once them players who are a bit older now start coming to the end of their careers, and then Klopp will probably leave at around the same time that them players leave, I feel like they'll just all of a sudden, if they can't replace that manager with a similar manager, I just can see them just completely falling off the wagon again, mate.
As much as I'd love to agree, I just can't see Jurgen Klopp leaving, because who's he leave for? I think there's only probably 3 clubs that he'd leave for in the world, and that's Bayern Munich, Barcelona, or Real Madrid.
I think it would be one of them. I think it would be like a Bayern Munich. I can imagine him going back to Germany at some point. I think it might be to do with issues with the board, mate, because they seem super reluctant to give higher wages or pay, which is a good thing. But when you've got even clubs like Villa paying ridiculous fees and wages now, it's like you're going to get caught up sooner or later. Especially if Van Dijk goes, that defense will need someone else, and then once Salah and Mane go, then you've lost your front line really, and Diaz and Jota can fill them gaps for now, but even them, they'll have their bad days because they're not that world class. They're not that top level. So I feel like Liverpool, for me, City won't, because City will just constantly replace them. So they won't.
To say they're not world class level, I think is a bit harsh, because I think obviously when you look at when Mane signed for Liverpool, he was at Southampton. Nobody would have called him world class then. They do now. Nobody would have called Mo Salah world class when he was at Roma, but they do now. So I think they don't sign players that are world class. They develop them world class. To be fair.
Yeah. No, but what I mean is I'm not sure. Even though he was really good before he got injured, since Jota's come back, I don't really see him being that top level anymore. I don't know. He might go on next season and be that top level. But my point is City will constantly replace them players. They won't have to worry about De Bruyne retiring, because they'll just replace him with a world-class centre midfielder, whoever it is at the time. And now they've got Foden and Haaland for the next coming 10 years. Like, this should be pretty sorted going forward as well.
I just, the interesting thing for Liverpool, I don't see them dropping off anytime soon because the recruitment, their policy on recruitment is really good. One thing I am interested about is that, they've been quick to replace the older players. They've got quite a few players, late 20s, early 30s now, that are, stepping back a bit more. So the likes of Sano, Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota, trying to get younger players in. To replenish that, great. Will they do the same? I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But yeah, no, I don't worry about that from my perspective. City, obviously, their recruitment is just you want someone, you get them. There's no issue. So yeah, no, it's interesting. I don't see it changing top two wise. I don't see anybody interrupting that.
It won't happen straight away, but I'd say they'll be the next team to do it in my eyes. That seems to. It won't be for the next probably 2-3 years, but after that, I feel like if Klopp gets a bit like frustrated and he left, then I think they'd have a bit of a fall off and be struggling for the top 4 kind of thing. Yeah. Which seems ridiculous to say now, but I could imagine it going forward.
I can't see it. I really can't. I definitely can't see it the next 5 years. I really don't. I think I think they're there for the top. I think they'll end up winning a Premier League before that happens. To be honest.
Yeah, they probably will. But I can imagine it. I just can't. I don't know why, but I think it's the age thing, and I feel like some of their players are kind of not irreplaceable, but especially Van Dijk. That would be the main one because he makes their defense so solid. And I think if they were easier to attack against and fell apart, like Villa did it a few years ago, if you can hit them like on the break, they've got so many shaky defenders. Like Alexander-Arnold's woeful. Like the goal Madrid scored in the final is embarrassing from Alexander-Arnold. You're in a Champions League final and you're ball watching. Like this.
Yeah. You do get moments like that. I mean, I think the goal, looking back at the footage, I think there was the goal conceded. Andy Robertson was chasing Modric down at the edge of the Real Madrid penalty area. Sometimes I get pressing, but you don't need to. If you're the defender, sure you've got to be asking one of your forwards to put the pressure on there rather than you dropping, pressing that high. It's insane.
Yeah. This is the thing that I think. That's why I think with Liverpool that at the minute they've got that like champions kind of shimmer on them at the minute, where it's like teams are a bit scared to do stuff because they don't want to get counter attacked. But if teams like attack Liverpool and hit Liverpool on the counter attack, you take Van Dijk out of that team, and if I was Liverpool, I'd be like, we're gonna concede a shitload of goals because he plays that high press. You beat that press against Liverpool, and you just seem to get in behind straight away. Like the top teams do it, but a lot of the other teams just get battered with the press. Like they are really good when they do the press and it works, but now and again, and you see some teams and you just think like you could score 4 or 5, and they're only lucky that they've got someone like Van Dijk who breaks down the attacks and stuff like that. If they took him out the side, honestly, I'd think they'd struggle a bit.
I don't know. I think as much as I'd love to agree with you, I don't know. I just think for every potential negative is a positive with Liverpool. I think obviously if Van Dijk did drop off the pace, you look at God, what's his name?
Konate.
Yeah,
he does look good.
Do you know what I was tempted to say? That I was tempted to say Upamecano, but Upamecano played alongside Konate at Leipzig, didn't he? That's why.
Yeah.
But Konate, I just think is he's solid. He's a really good defender. He was a really good signing. So yeah, he's a great player. We definitely will step up to that mark. I don't think Joel Matip's quite there though. Personally, I don't think he's at that level. I think he's a good centre back. I don't think he's at that top level or can get to that top level. Konate, I think will though. Yeah, he's a very good defender.
Yeah, that's in that position. That seems a natural progression. But then it's making sure you get the player next to Konate to be like just as good.
Yeah. He's brilliant. But no, I can't see them dropping off the pace anytime soon, personally. As much as I'd love to, God, let's hope it happens. But no, I can't see it happening. But yeah, no, I did. God, what were we even talking about? I can't remember.
I have no idea. We had a solid base for this second part, and then it just seemed to go just talking football.
Yeah, no. I tell you what, I wanted to ask you was, do you know from our I don't know. Do you remember our previous podcast?
The part 1.
No, not the one we just done. Sorry, the going back before we went away.
All right.
Did we get any feedback as to why Scunthorpe had just collapsed?
No, I don't think we did. I don't think we did. We don't reach that far.
I just really curious because I was trying to read up on it the other day, and it just looks like the ownership model basically kind of said that they needed to get the funds to break even, and it's just kind of fallen apart. But the fans are not happy with the ownership. But so it could be another one of those to do with tight ownership. But again, I just really want to know what's happened there because I just can't see anything about it at all.
Yeah, no. And when we were looking for that podcast, I remember at the time trying to find stuff, and I couldn't really see anything like nothing specific. They might have just had a fall from grace, kind. They might have just collapsed. It is a strange one though. But
I can't tell. I really can't tell. But there we go.
No.
Well, we're just under an hour, so I'd pretty say we're pretty sweet with that. I don't know about you. Have you got anything that you can think of that we need to mention, or?
No. It's a nice 2-parter to come back with. I think maybe before the start of the next season, I might rebrand it though. Keep saying the rebrand.
I tell you what, the next podcast should be. I think. I know I mentioned it previously. Is to discuss the rules and technology in football.
Oh yes. I remember you saying that. So that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I know you keep note of these because I always forget them, and then you say them again. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I think I think I'm gonna make note on my phone actually, just so I don't forget. But yeah, just I'm keen to kind of get your opinion on different things in football, rules and technologies and blah blah blah, and just like rate them out of 10. Where were they good? Where did they need to improve? You know, do we need certain rules? Can we get rid of certain rules?
New technologies in football, robot referees, physical robot referees marching around the pitch.
Jesus. I feel like, I'll tell you what, Terminator sequel is going to be sick.
He's the referee. Get sent off, you prick. Yeah. That is a second yellow. Get off.
There'll be loads. Yeah, there'll be absolutely loads. But no, I think that's a good idea for the next podcast, personally. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. We got 2 parts now. I think I'll post one on probably Saturday, and then I'll post one on like Wednesday.
Right. Yeah.
Split them up a little bit. Sweet. All right, I'll see you in a bit, mate.
Happy days, right? I'll take it easy. I'll see you soon.
See you in a bit. Bye-bye.